Hello teachers, and welcome to Module 1, Section B of What is Trello and Why Should We Use It? In this section I'll talk about the reasons for using Trello for K-12 lesson planning. Trello is an excellent tool for K-12 lesson planning because it has many features that are based on proven principles about the way in which e-learning aids comprehension. Teachers that use Trello for lesson planning can make the most of the affordances of e-learning principles of two types: those that deal with how to limit extraneous cognitive processing, and those that help manage essential and unavoidable cognitive processing. First, we'll take a look at how traits of Trello enable users to better comprehend projects by limiting extraneous cognitive processing. The multimedia principle of e-learning states that we learn better from words and graphics together than from either one alone. So if we recall that Kanban in Japanese means visual cue, we see that Trello is, by virtue of being a visual representation of the work to be done, a good example of the multimedia principle at work. It pairs visual cues in the form of boards, lists, cards, color coding, tagging to assign tasks, and due dates. All of the elements are movable and editable, and that contributes to it as a visual aid. A lesson plan in narrative form would have to go to greater lengths to explain the same information. The contiguity principle refers to the way placing graphics and text next to each other, either spatially or temporally, learning is facilitated. In other words, the traits of Trello are such that the objects being referred to, such as the documents, calendars, etc., can be physically attached to the names of those objects in the cards. The mere fact that teachers working collaboratively could access the documents themselves without having to further hunt for them is a huge time saver that aids comprehension on the part of teachers about what is to be done, and it greatly improves the workflow. All of these are examples of how Trello makes items spatially contiguous. Picture a traditional lesson plan in narrative form in, say, a Word document. Great pains would have to be taken to move objects around in the to-do list in order to represent where they are in the work in progress. Trello, however, makes good use of the temporal contiguity principle in that the columns themselves are representations of the time, the to-do list, the doing list, and the done. Furthermore, due dates can be added to the cards so that having the right things in front of us at the right time is even easier. Finally, Trello has a checklist feature in which work is represented as completed or work to be done, and this helps the eye scan for what is left to do in a way that could not be done in a traditional lesson plan. Trello helps limit the extraneous cognitive processing of teachers by being in line with the coherence principle. This is to say that too much extra stuff confuses us and we get bogged down by the details that are not important in that moment. Trello accomplishes this by being a neat, clean representation of the work to be done in card form. Trello cards are designed with a front and a back. That way the brief description can be listed on the front and the detail of the task can be listed on the back. At any given time, a teacher could flip over a card to get more information, but if they're looking at the big picture view, they can do so easily. The lesson planning process is much more coherent this way. Trello helps minimize extraneous cognitive processing by being in line with the multimedia, contiguity, and coherence principles. We can more clearly see what work there is, who is doing it, when they're doing it, and we do not have to go hunting for the curricular materials because they are attached. We can manipulate and move cards around in a way that indicates the stage of workflow we're in at any given time. We're able to see the big picture or zoom in on any aspect of the lesson planning process. But team planning is tough. It's hard to work with groups of people, and it's hard to work with tedious materials. So the ability to break down complex processes into smaller parts are why Kanban boards are so popular. In this section, I'll talk about how Trello aids with essential cognitive processing that can't be avoided because the nature of the work is complex. The segmenting principle of e-learning states that when complex topics or processes are broken down into smaller segments, they are better understood. A collaborative team of teachers working on a lesson plan can work more effectively by breaking work into segments using Trello. Finally, Trello is an effective tool because it is in line with the pre-training principle. The very process of using Trello is a form of pre-training. Teachers using Trello for lesson planning determine who will do what and when they will do it, and in what order, etc. So running through the process together verbally and visually in this way, they are pre-training, so to speak, for the work they will do, similarly to how football teams run playbooks prior to practicing the plays. So in summary, Trello can be a great tool for lesson planning because it's very much in line with e-learning principles. Thank you for listening.